It's time for our daily dose of cope, and we have Debo Leopard here, and he took some MAGA's hat. That MAGA before his face got ate and said, "But my mama gave me that hat," and he said, "Give me that hat," and then he ate his face. That's precisely what happened, just like that. Now let's jump into some of these stories. Let's start with Dina. This is a Facebook post. She says, "I've been a supporter of President Trump from the beginning till now. I don't understand what is going on with his immigration policy, but something is not right. Tens of thousands of people are being detained and they've committed no crime. And in some cases, their legality has been stripped from them, making them illegal. I think this has gone too far and needs to stop. Maybe Congress needs to step in and find a solution. A person who has lived in this country for many years should not be forced to return or go to a country they've never been to. People's rights are being ignored. This is not the Trump I voted for. I did not vote for this." Oh my God. Yes, you did. This is exactly what you voted for. You voted for racism. This is what you got. This is what you voted for. Rebecca says, "I'm a 3-time Trump voter. I worked for the Trump administration in 2026, but I don't give an F who is sitting in the Oval Office. Looking the other way as Freedophiles are protected is the opposite of making America great again." Rebecca, you voted for a liar and a Frito. He was already convicted of actual related offenses. There has been rumors of him. There's been allegations of him. There has been all kinds of victims coming forward about him for years. This is literally what you voted for 3 times. This is because y'all don't take victims seriously. I hear people using the word brain rot a lot. And as I read this, I was thinking, is this what brain rot is? So Bill says, "I voted for Trump, I think 3 times. I appreciate his promises and how he tries to keep them. I do also recognize how he lies all the time and is trying to get himself and his family richer. If you just blindly follow and believe everything he says, you're part of the problem that allows those idiots to yell MAGA this and that." So he appreciates how he tries to keep his promises, but I do understand that he's a liar. And this is part of the problem. This is why they yell MAGA this and that. Yes, because you're in a cult, Bill. Bill would vote for him for a 3rd term. He says, "I will vote that way again. You should be pissed when your party installed an idiot without your input. No queens, kings, or input." So he would totally vote for this again, even though he knows that Trump is a liar. Because yes, you are in a cult, Bill Hoffman. Now let's talk about the welfare state of West Virginia. McDowell County, West Virginia, birthplace of food stamps, faces a disappearing safety net, all because of MAGA Republicans. For nonprofits in McDowell County, West Virginia, the federal cuts in the One Big Beautiful BS of a Bill Act threaten a lifeline. Many of McDowell's 17,000 residents rely on federal programs and nonprofits they fund to get by. The county's tax base and population have significantly declined since 1950, when McDowell was the top coal-producing county in the nation and had about 100,000 residents. Now, more than half of the children in the county receive Children's Health Insurance Program benefits, or CHIP, and about 1/3 of seniors are on Medicaid, the federal health insurance program for the poor. Decades after the Kennedy administration made the county a first test of food stamps, nearly half of the county's residents receive Supplemental Nutrition Assistance, or SNAP, food stamp program's successor. The strains created by new eligibility restrictions on SNAP as a result of the passage of Trump's domestic policy bill will be especially dire in places like McDowell County, where more than 1/3 of the population lives below the federal poverty line, said Rosemary Ketchum, executive director of the West Virginia Nonprofit Association. This welfare county of impoverished people definitely voted MAGA. Trump won at 80%. They voted to have their welfare stripped of them. They voted to make sure that their children didn't have health insurance. They voted to make sure that the elderly didn't have benefits. But then again, the elderly probably voted for this as well. So they are getting the day that they voted for. Climate change is real, but you can't really talk to these anti-intellectual, anti-science, super Christians that literally think that the earth is probably 2,000 years old. These people really thought that a bunch of animals got on one boat. So no, you can't talk to these people. And so that's the reason why many of these states that are in flood zones or hurricane zones or tornado alley don't listen to the things about climate change, because they are anti-science and they are dumb and they probably read at a 4th grade level. So this county in particular is about to get flooded because FEMA is gone away. Their preventative structures are not getting built because they voted for Trump, who said, I'm getting rid of FEMA. After FEMA Axed Aid is an Eastern Shore town lost to the bay, not sitting at the dock of the bay. It's about to get swept away. Let's get into this article now, 'cause I'm about to show you how MAGA is so dumb. Eastern Shore watermen harvested billions of oysters in the 1800s, so many that they used the shells to fill up a Somerset County marsh. On top of them, the town of Crisfield sprouted into the home of 25,000 residents who called it the seafood capital of the world. Today, 1/10 as many people live there, and they now face a slow-moving disaster. Just 3 feet above sea level, the Eastern Shore town is disappearing into the Chesapeake Bay. Disasters like Superstorm Sandy in 2012 flooded Crisfield badly, forcing hundreds to evacuate and leaving behind tens of millions of dollars in damage. Even without hurricane-driven surges and downpours, tides routinely flood the town's roads on clear days, a phenomenon scientists expect will grow more common as the land sinks and seas rise. As soon as 2050, Crisfield could see widespread flooding every day at high tide. Many there, though, haven't accepted this fate. For years, Crisfield's leaders have charted their future under climate change, working with scientists to model new infrastructure that might save them. Their work paid off last summer when FEMA awarded $36 million for phase 1 of a mammoth undertaking to surround Crisfield with bulkheads and raised roads and absorbent wetlands. At 9 times Crisfield's annual budget, FEMA's down payment promised deliverance. So FEMA said, we're going to give you some money last year during Biden's administration. Then in April, the government went back on its word. Trump's administration canceled the grant and eliminated the FEMA program. The decision dashed Crisfield's hopes of tapping tens of millions more for its flood plan and leaves behind an area deeply loyal to Trump to bear the weight of his climate denialism. If the water overtakes Crisfield, some may stay, but many more wonder, is a community that experiences costly floods every day still a community? Somerset County highly went for Trump at 75%. This is what they voted for. They voted for a man that stripped away FEMA funds and a grant that could help their community. But now their community might get flooded because it is in a flood zone and climate change is real. There's an article in the Financial Times that's titled, Trump's Medicaid Cuts Hit the Wrong Target. Imposing work requirements in exchange for social benefits is as American as motherhood and apple pie. The idea is deeply rooted in American culture, especially in the U.S. Midwestern states that helped bring Donald Trump to power. His big, beautiful BS of a bill, which includes one of the largest cuts ever in America's social safety net, will force many recipients of public health insurance to prove they have a job to qualify. So who are they and how hard will it be for them to keep healthcare coverage in a country where a single accident or operation can bankrupt someone? They are nearly all of us. Almost 70% of those polled recently by KFF, the Health Policy Research Group, said someone close to them had received help from Medicaid, the taxpayer-funded health insurance program for low-income and disabled Americans. Even among Republicans, 51% had been on Medicaid themselves or had a family member covered. In the Midwest in 2023, 25 to 30% of the population was covered by either Medicaid or CHIP, including several members of my family. Now, nearly a quarter of them will have to prove they work, study, or volunteer for 80 hours a month or are exempt from doing so. Brooke Rollins, the U.S. Agriculture Secretary, recently suggested that Medicaid recipients could replace deported farm workers. But many recipients affected by the new law, mostly childless, able-bodied adults, are already working. KFF estimates that 64% of working-age Medicaid recipients already have a full or part-time job. Another 28% can't work due to caregiving, illness, disability, or school attendance. The American Enterprise Institute uses different data and finds that less than half of these affected already work. I've interviewed Medicaid recipients who didn't want to be identified. In Ohio, a Republican state whose government believes Medicaid work requirements give Ohioans the opportunity to live up to their God-given potential. Most of them are working, but fear they will lose coverage because of bureaucratic hurdles. Every new administration requirement is another barrier to coverage, Teresa Lample, an Ohio Medicaid expert, told me. Notification comes through snail mail, she adds, and if it's a text message, recipients may wonder if it's a scam. Melanie is an entrepreneur. This is the part I wanted to get to. Melanie is an entrepreneur who has been on and off Medicaid for years. I'm a libertarian. I don't believe in big government, and it's hard for me to philosophically be on Medicaid, she tells me, but she has to rely on it while she builds a new business. She's worried that being self-employed will make it difficult to prove how many hours she's working. If she can't, she could lose coverage again, which she will deserve to lose coverage because she voted for Donald Trump, or if she voted for a libertarian third party, she still basically voted for Donald Trump. But regardless, she says she doesn't believe in big government. And if she loses Medicaid, she will match her beliefs. She will finally be living in her truth. Now I want to talk about North Carolina. North Carolina could be impacted as well with these SNAP cuts. It says North Carolina Food Bank warns it won't be able to meet demand after SNAP cuts. The state's largest food bank doesn't believe it'll be able to match the demand for food once the Trump administration's cuts to SNAP and Medicaid kick in. Why it matters. The Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina supports free food markets and pantries across a 34-county region from the Triangle to the coast. State of play. Already, the Food Bank of CNNC has seen an increase in hunger in the past year, with more than 600,000 people using its services in some capacity. 2 years ago, that number was 450,000, according to the food bank. This echoes what food banks across the country are seeing amid rising food costs and an end of several pandemic era aid programs. In May, 15.6% of adults were food insecure, almost double the rate in 2021, according to Morning Consult data. And from April 2024 to April 2025, more than half of the food banks surveyed by Feeding America reported seeing an increase in the number of people served. Driving the news, the big, beautiful BS of a bill passed by Congress signed by the president earlier this month includes cuts to SNAP and Medicaid. Food banks nationwide are trying to rally support in response to the cuts. Earlier this year, U.S. Department of Agriculture cut a grant program that gave money to food banks to buy produce from local farms, which the Food Bank of CNNC used. And this, once again, goes back to the farmers that I was talking about yesterday, the dumb farmers for Trump who voted to have access to this money cut because of Doge and Trump and these MAGA Republicans. This is all a circle of people that have harmed themselves. What they are saying, what we believe will happen with these cuts to SNAP is that we will not be able to fill the gap with charitable food. Amy Barrows, the president and CEO of the Food Bank of CENC, told Axios. Barrows said last year that 30% of its revenue came from government funding. This year, it anticipates that figure dropping 11 to 12%. Zoom in. Barrows noted that for every one meal a food bank provides, SNAP provides 9, a gap that it can't overcome with charity in its viewpoint. Already, the Food Bank of CENC is budgeting that it will deliver less food this year than last year because of government spending cuts, dropping from 115 million pounds of food distributed to 92 million pounds. And that's with the increased need for food, she said. People are going to receive less, or there's going to be distributions where people will get turned away. The White House and congressional Republicans argue that cuts to these benefits help push more people into the labor market and reduce dependence on government assistance, as well as an effort to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse. Barrow said the food bank of CENC will look toward donations from the community and corporations to help fill the gap in the coming months. She noted that some private donors are already stepping up, notably the David and Nicole Tepper Foundation, which donated $10 million to food banks across North Carolina and South Carolina. It's also asking the state government to increase its funding of food banks in the state budget. However, Barrow said it doesn't seem like that'll happen if and when a budget is ever finalized. We are still advocating at the federal and state level, but we know that we're going to have to come up with the community-led solutions to this. The only reason why I feel bad for North Carolina is that I realize that North Carolina is a true swing state. Look at the popular vote. Donald Trump did not win by that much. He got close to 2.9 million votes, and Kamala Harris got 2.7 million votes. So the people in North Carolina who are blue, who voted for Kamala Harris, I feel for those people. The other people can get some bootstraps and then shove it up. I meant to say that they can get their faces eaten. That's where I was going with that. No shoving anything up anywhere. So, rah!
These motherfuckers are gonna make me back again. I'm done with stressing. Get my Smith & Wesson on, God. They come for my rights 'cause they can't take my light, and they hate me for shining so bright. They come with their anger, but darling, they ain't never met mine. They're so